and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. As you can tell, we are back at CIA Performance today. We're taking on a 2001 Mustang GT with a little bit of fun under the hood. Kenne Belle blower. Now, not only does this have a Kenne Belle blower in it, but it also has a 5-liter stroker kit in it with forged internals. So bottom end, this thing's got a lot to do. The top end, pretty much stock. Still running stock cams, still running stock manifolds, still running mostly stock exhaust. So we're not expecting anything totally crazy, but should be worth a watch, and it'll give us an idea as far as what we could do later on down the road to improve this car if we chose to do so. So we're gonna get into this thing. Hopefully you guys like to watch this. Stay tuned, here we go. So before we get to the fun part, a little bit of backstory. This car previously had blown up 2 motors. Now whether or not that was due to improper driving, improper tuning, maybe, or whatever it is, it's blown up 2 motors previously in the past with this blower on it. It came to us to be able to rebuild and put a new motor in it. In order for us to take that project on, we decided we're not going to just stick a junkyard 4.6 back in this thing and let it eat. We wanted to actually make sure the bottom end was healthy and able to take the abuse that we're likely going to throw at it. So this motor has actually been built at Performance Research. It has had all the machining done at Performance Research. It has had the 5-liter stroker kit put inside that 4.6. So it is a 2001 4.6 with a 5-liter stroker kit in it. It is still running on the top end stock cams. It still has the stock heads that are on it. It still has stock exhaust manifolds on it. It still has catalytic converters on it. It still has the whole full exhaust on it. And as you can hear from the exhaust note, it isn't rowdy at all. So when we got this thing over here, Eric was able to put it on the dyno and see where our baseline to begin with was. And to say the least, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I pretty much had to stop because it started breaking up due to the previous tune.
Yeah.
It was actually running such little timing that was causing misfires.
That's terrible. Normally it's the other way around. It's something gets a little too aggressive.
I don't really like to see negative numbers.
Yeah.
Timing wise.
That's wild.
So yeah, but.
And we have no idea where this was tuned before.
Correct.
How it was tuned, what it was tuned on. We have honestly no idea. I mean, I guess typically speaking, versus an NA application, you do want to pull timing out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but,
yeah, for a blower application, for sure you do.
Right.
The other thing is, last time it was tuned, we were still on what would be effectively 0 ethanol fuel. Okay. So it was still set up for that. Okay. So it was running leaner than it should have been to start with. That's probably why it blew a motor or 2. Yeah. Along with incomplacent timing, right? If you will. Right.
So. At the end of the day, well, I guess at the beginning of the day in this situation, it doesn't matter how good you build the motor. If the tune isn't right, it's still going to blow up.
Yes.
And that's absolutely the case on this car. If we'd been driving this thing and beating the hell out of it, it could have blown up again.
Correct.
So, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, once you build it, tune it. You know, we've driven this thing just a little tiny bit on the street to make sure, like, break-in mileage and everything is physically okay and it's not leaking fluids and, you know, everything works. But it's nothing where we've been out hammering on it. But had we driven this thing before we tuned it, you know, now you got $8,000 worth of build that's blown up again. So anyway, as you can see, the the original dyno graph for this thing, when he strapped it down on the dyno, not real pretty. Definitely left some room for improvement and just overall. Anyway, time to fire this thing up and see what it does after he's played with it a bit. Shall we? So as you can tell from the exhaust note, it's not super rowdy. It's realistically speaking, it's just basic bolt-on exhaust stuff. Nothing real serious. Now these mod motors are really a pain in the neck if you ever want to actually do headers. They're not fun. Basically, you drop the subframe or you pull the motor back out to be able to do it. So in this case, that wasn't a situation that we wanted to deal with. This motor should be able to make the power we wanted to make in the first place, but it's a great baseline for if we decide to do more upgrades down the road, like headers and full exhaust and all that fun stuff. Well, as we've said in previous videos when we're over here, this is not just about making dyno pulls and making cool dynographs. This is also a very useful diagnostic tool.
Correct.
So, in addition to the fact that we figured out that the tune that originally came on this thing was worthless, we've also discovered some issues that we can resolve to make it more durable and make more power and more reliable. We have a spark blowout issue.
Correct, yeah.
And one of the things that's kind of a pain in the neck on these cars because of this blower setup is it's not easy to get a hold of those plugs. Now it does have upgraded coils, but the stock original plugs are gapped a little too far, so we're ended up with a...
Yeah, I pulled one last night and they were at 52 thousandths.
Right.
Which is not conducive to any sort of forced induction application.
Right. Would have been fine for NA purposes, but for forced induction...
And they were Motorcraft Platinums, which I would not my favorite.
Right. So in your world, what would you prefer as far as a spark plug goes? Is it go out and buy the most expensive spark plug you can find?
No. For what this car is going to be used for, a set of appropriate coppers gap down to like 30 thou.
Right.
Would be completely fine. Okay, yeah, you have to replace them every 15,000 miles as opposed to every 30,000 miles. But they're also $3 a piece versus $11 a piece.
And how many people usually put 15,000 or 20,000 miles on a set of plugs? That's a toy car.
Right, exactly. It'll take you a long time.
Right. So we made good power though. I mean, for what it is, we've discovered what pulley setup is on it. We were unsure. We figured it was going to be in the 8-9 pounds range, and it did end up being like an 8-pound setup.
Yeah.
It carries out the 8 pounds of boost all the way out to like what 5,500 RPMs or so.
Yeah, right about 5,000. Then it starts to taper off. Yeah.
So what's interesting here is the fact that it carries that 8 pounds of boost all the way out. And then I think you and I were talking about off camera, this could be a function of the blower is not big.
It's not.
It's a tiny series motor. You know, it's not.
That's why it's called TS series.
Right.
Tiny supercharger.
it's a tiny supercharger, so it's not a big crazy blower. But we also increased the displacement of this motor. Yeah. So that blower is designed to force into a 4.6.
Correct.
And because of the extra additional displacement, taking it up to the 5 liter, we may be bleeding off boost because of that extra.
Yeah, it's going to consume it. It's going to consume the air volume, which effectively decreases what the actual boost is.
Right.
That's just the way it is. The only way to overcome that is to put a different pulley setup on it, but it's still going to taper off some of the boost because the supercharger just cannot keep up.
Right. The only way to get rid of that would be upsize the blower to be able to handle the larger amount of displacement.
It's kind of like having too small of a turbo on a car.
Right.
Perfect example would be a stock Subaru turbo where you can make like 20, 21 pounds in the mid-range, then no matter what you do, it's going to taper off to like 14, 15.
Right.
It just cannot keep up the volume.
So much volume of air. So, interesting data. Max power, we made 349.82 horsepower at 5,150 RPMs. Max torque, we made 402 foot-pounds of torque at 3,750. So nice low torque power. It's not a real high-powered screamer. It's not a high revving screamer. A portion of that is also the fact it's on stock cams. You know, it's designed to be an NA cam. It's designed to make that low-end grunt. It's not designed to be a high-end, machine.
Yeah, it has a 19-year-old technology catalytic converters on it.
Correct.
So they're ceramic.
Right.
And God only knows what they've been through.
Also true. Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, we don't know, other than the fact that it's blown up 2 motors, we don't know the state of everything else. it seems like the parts were good. The stuff that we started with it's a pretty solid machine, but there's definitely some opportunities to be had here.
Yes.
Upgrade to headers, upgrade to a bit better flowing exhaust, higher, more modern catalytic converters. Had we switched around camshaft at that point in time, would have probably been a little bit of a benefit, but not necessarily a huge benefit because of the fact the blower can't really do much at the top end compared to what it is. So it is what it is. Hopefully that's interesting. Hopefully it's educational. For us, it's definitely given us another couple of things that we can handle to make the car better. You know, we can pull out the plugs and put a $20 set of plugs in it, gap them down so that we don't have any spark blowout. If we choose to pulley it up a little bit more, the bottom end certainly has the ability to handle it. So, you know, swap to a smaller up pulley or a larger down pulley, and maybe push it up to, you know, 12 pounds maybe a boost.
Yeah.
You were saying we have plenty of injector left.
Correct. We're about 60% right now.
So plenty of injector left. Might be worth it. How much that, you know, very restrictive exhaust could handle, we can see. But as Eric was saying, we're still going to have that tapering off towards the top end as far as with being able to hold boost pressure. No matter what we do pulley-wise to push it up there, it's going to, you know, if we put a 12-pound setup on it, it'll hold 12 pounds, and then it'll start to fall back off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is what it is. We'll still make that low power number, that low torque number. It'll just be higher.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hopefully this has been interesting. We are very glad to have this thing done finally so we can actually go out and enjoy it and test on it a little bit and hopefully have some fun with it. Eric, as always, I appreciate it, sir.
No problem.
Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. You can find these guys at CIA Performance. This is literally what they do all the time. I will link to their channel in this video. You can see all kinds of goodness that they do here, not just our stuff. As always, please do click on the subscribe button for us. Drop us a comment if you are interested in this project. If you want to buy this thing, it might be available if you're interested. Please drop us a comment. Click on that like button as always. It lets YouTube know that you actually pay attention to what we're doing. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. We'll see you on the next one. See you later.